On a very specific set of axes, Sundial, Tyrant from Aetherdrift is actually good? Okay, little build up for this one. Prior to March of the Machine, little was publicly known about the plane of Morogonda. From Future Sight, we knew that basic lands and creatures without abilities, colloquially referred to as vanilla, mattered there, and from Plane Chase, we knew that green and red were dominant, and I suppose that mana value mattered and that things tended to get bigger, at least in the feeding grounds? Not much to go on, world-building wise. But now we know more from March of the Machine and Aetherdrift. We get the sense that this is a plane that's either very new or somehow stuck in the past of what humans on Earth would think of as prehistoric or primordial times, because the oozes and megafauna haven't gotten around to taking the back seat the way they did in our world. A simpler plane, where bigger is better and quantity beats quality. One way Aetherdrift is playing around with these themes is a cycle of legendary creatures without abilities. It's not the first time we've had vanilla legendaries. There were a bunch back in Legends and one back in Champions of Kamigawa, both sets that focused on and therefore played around with legendary creatures. We also have, of course, Yargle, Glutton of Urborg from Dominaria, and Yargle and Multani from March of the Machine. The general theme seems to be to balance the downside of having no abilities and being legendary with above-rate power and or toughness, right? Okay, so it's the lead up to Aetherdrift, and the first hint we get from Maro's Aetherdrift teaser is that there is going to be a cycle of vanilla legendary creatures. Next, we see Loading Ready Run preview the black one, the red one, and the green one, creatures with above-rate power and or toughness and sharing the moniker Tyrant. Next, we get Good Luck High Five previewing the blue one with, again, above-rate power and or toughness. Then, a few days later, the white one gets revealed, rather unceremoniously, along with the rest of the leftovers. It's a 3-3 for 2. What gives? Well, that was my first thought anyways. I squinted at it and yeah, it's an artifact, so that helps. Also, Construct is a creature type with some support, so arguably that's a nominal synergy piece. So I suppose it might not be the worst card in a very narrow set of circumstances, but it doesn't really seem to be in line with the other Tyrants or other vanilla legendaries, right? At this point, I did what I often do in these circumstances. Headed over to Scryfall to find similar cards to compare it to. I searched for white cards that cost 2 or less and have 3 or more power and 3 or more toughness, and was surprised to find that, first of all, there have only been 17 of them, and then skimming through the results, I realized that they all have some restriction or downside other than being legendary, so it is above rate, for white. While I don't know what deck wants a card like this, technically speaking, Sundial Tyrant is the first 2 or less mana creature with 3 or more power and 3 or more toughness, with no restrictions or downsides, other than being legendary, in white. Additionally, in searching this video, I found the wild pair value in the Scryfall syntax, so can also say it's only the second white creature with a combined power and toughness of 6 or greater, and mana value of 2 or less, without any downsides or restrictions, other than being legendary. The first was Giant Ox, and, since being legendary is a downside in some contexts, and Giant Ox actually has an upside, I suppose Giant Ox is probably in the top spot.